We finally got a break in midweek. It seems like it's been a while since we've had kind of 3 game weeks. I know we had the international break, but other than that, it has been weekend, midweek, weekend, and it's been very, very packed. So we've got a little bit of time here to kind of get recovery in for a lot of the players, and hopefully the standard of football is better this weekend. Everyone should kind of be fit and ready to go, so it'll be interesting to see who gets on better out of all the teams. Most importantly, Blues have had a poor start under Rooney, losing all 3 games, but putting it into context, they've been 3 tough games. We were never going to beat Southampton or Middlesbrough away or get a point against them. Wouldn't have happened under Eustace either, because we had a poor away record and both these sides were in very good form. Hull at home, I think under Eustace would have probably got a point, but those 3 games have kind of been used by Rooney to get a feel for his players, figure out what they're good at and what they're not so good at, and then I'm imagining with a week break now until the game on Saturday, he can kind of assess the players, figure out who's going to be best where, and come up with a plan for that game, and that will be the plan going forward. So I'm expecting a good settled squad on the weekend and potentially a bit more good news. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into our predictions. We start off with a cracker. First against third, Leicester against Leeds. These 2 sides both came down last year and they've both started very, very well. Leicester, 9 wins in a row, 13 wins out of 14. Leicester are flying. They're going to break a lot of records this year. And I don't see them losing more than 4 games this season. I'd be very shocked if they lost more than 4, because they are playing some brilliant football and they're getting the job done every single week. Leeds, they've won 4 out of their last 5. They did lose against Stoke, which was quite interesting, as I wasn't expecting that result, but Stoke have had a good week. However, on the weekend, back to winning ways, 4-1 over Huddersfield, a massive win, and they've got a brilliant attack. They do tend to get into a rhythm of keeping clean sheets, but they haven't for a few games. It's going to be an interesting game. And that's why I think Leicester they're going to want to go into it and not lose. Obviously, you know, there's still a big gap between them and Leeds in third, and Leicester have the quality to go and win it. But I just don't see Leicester losing, and I see it being tight. So I am going to sit on the fence and go for Leicester to drop points in only the 2nd game this season, 1-1. Blues face Ipswich. Difficult game this. Wayne Rooney hasn't had a great start with 3 losses out of 3 games. Tough fixtures, however, with Southampton and Middlesbrough away and Hull at home sandwiched in between them. The Southampton game was interesting because if we had VAR or competent refs in the Championship, their first goal was offside. We should have had a Stonewall penalty, and if we converted it, we'd have been going into half-time at 1-1, and there would have been a lot more positivity. However, we went in 2-0 down, and that did kind of kill the game for us. It was an interesting watch. I think we were better than we have been in the previous games. There were signs of improvement. There were patterns of play where we did dominate the ball. We were winning lots of corners. We were getting forward well. But too many mistakes at the back, and I hate to single out players. I'd never really do this, but Longelo really struggled at left back, I felt, in that game and in the few that Rooney's been there. Longelo really, he was at fault for 2 of the goals, if not, he kind of played a part in all 3 that we conceded. So with Ethan Laird back this weekend, I know he's traditionally a right back, but he can play left back too. I think Laird may be slotting into left back as long as he's fit enough, and I see us being better defensively because of that. Ipswich, very, very good form. They've won 4 in a row and they're unbeaten in 9. They've won 8 of those 9, so this is going to be very tough. But I am going to be optimistic. I saw positive signs. I think it's a reach. We'll probably lose, but I am going to go for a 1-1 draw. Bristol City face Sheffield Wednesday. Now, Bristol City have just sacked Nigel Pearson after 2 losses in a row, and it was an annoying loss for them against Cardiff on the weekend. They didn't really show too much quality. So Pearson's gone. No replacement is in as of recording on Tuesday. However, there is expected to be a decision in the next few days. To be fair, it looks like John Eustace might be getting the job, so I think that'll be a brilliant appointment for them. And they have the quality. They do have quite a bit of quality, but they just needed a game like this to go and get some points. And it's against Sheffield Wednesday, and it may be harsh because Sheffield Wednesday have just won their first game of the season. It was a 2-0 over Rotherham, very important win. A loss would have seen them quite far adrift, and I'd have been very, very concerned. But the win was good. Danny Roll getting the first win of the season after a handful of games for them, so maybe, just maybe, he's starting to implement the way and they'll start climbing. But I just don't see it. There's been a statement today from Mr. Chansiri talking about they need fans to give them £2 million so that they can pay HMRC and player wages. They're just incredibly poorly run. And to be honest, I think it would have been better for Sheffield Wednesday if they didn't get promoted, because they are going to probably go down with a very low points total. Everyone's wages have probably got higher and they've had to buy players in on higher wages than League One. So I think it's just kind of made things worse for them really. But we'll have to see how they get on. I have got a feeling Bristol City will win it 2-1. And the goals are flying in when Huddersfield play, so let's hope it's similar here. Huddersfield face Watford, but for the Terriers, they're not flying in a positive way. They've conceded 8 in their last 2 games, losing 4-0 against Cardiff and 4-1 against Leeds. It's not looking good for Darren Moore at the moment. They need an upturn in form. This is maybe a slightly easier game than those 2 that they've played recently, but Watford unbeaten in 4, they've won 2 of those. So I've got a feeling that Watford are going to pile a little bit more misery on Huddersfield and get the win. And I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. Millwall take on Southampton, and Millwall aren't doing too badly since Rowett left. They've only lost 1 game, but they've drawn 3 out of their last 4, so they're not picking up wins. And I do think Southampton are going to roll them over here, because the Saints, good form, 6 unbeaten, 4 of those being wins, and they won at the weekend 3-1 against Blues. I've got a feeling that they will make it 7 unbeaten and a 5th win. So I'll go Southampton to win by the same scoreline that they did at the weekend, 3-1. Plymouth take on Middlesbrough next. Now, Plymouth, not great form at the moment. They've only won 1 out of their last 6, and that win came against Sheffield Wednesday, who lose pretty much every game. So it's been tough for Plymouth at the moment, a tough period. They have been dropping down the table, but will they be able to get an upturn in form and steer clear of a relegation battle? Well, they're up against a tough Middlesbrough side, 6 wins in a row before the weekend, and then a shock loss against Stoke. And that's no slight on Stoke. I just expected Middlesbrough to get all the points, especially with Middlesbrough being at home. I do, however, think Middlesbrough will get back to winning ways here, so 2-1. Preston face Coventry next, and Preston, no wins in 7, losing 4 of them, so their brilliant form at the start of the season has really dropped off, and I'm now expecting them to kind of middle out and be somewhere in mid-table. But you never know, they were that good before, so surely they can get back there. You know, there's a chance. I just don't think it's going to happen. However, this is a good game for them because Coventry, with Nigel Pearson being sacked after the weekend's results for Bristol City, he was the longest standing manager alongside Coventry's manager Mark Robbins. Is he now under pressure with 3 losses in a row, no goals in those games? If it's a 4th here, will Coventry look elsewhere? It's a difficult one as they are kind of wanting to live up to the heights of last season, reaching that playoff final, but they are sitting 20th at the moment, so it's been a difficult start. I'm sure they can turn it around, but I do think that Preston will get a win here, a very important one after not winning in 7, so Preston to win 1-0. Massive clash at the bottom of the table, 22nd against 23rd, Rotherham against QPR. Now, the Millers haven't had a great start to the season at all, and they've only won one of their last 8 fixtures. That was against Coventry, but they're just not winning games. They had a very important game on the weekend against bottom place Sheffield Wednesday, who hadn't won a game, and Rotherham lost it 2-0. So they really need to make sure they don't lose this one, or they could be in trouble. QPR, not good form either. They haven't won in 9. They've lost 6 in a row, and that weekend's loss to Leicester led to Gareth Ainsworth losing his job. They have appointed Cifuentes, I want to say. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. He has been doing his trade in Sweden, so a rather unknown. From what I'm seeing, he's very, very good tactically. He turns teams around on low budgets and kind of stabilises them. And he is being touted as, an up-and-coming tactical good manager. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. I'm sure that he will do better than Ainsworth did, because he was really struggling there. And I'm going to go for a winning start for QPR, which would be already better than what Ainsworth's done, really. So QPR to win 1-0. Stoke up against Cardiff next, and who would have predicted Stoke's recent week? 3 games, 3 wins, coming against Sunderland, Leeds and Middlesbrough. That was a tough week for Stoke, but it's finally seeming to click. Cardiff won 2 in a row, one of those being a massive 4-0 against Huddersfield, and the latest a 2-0 against Bristol City. So both sides have kept 2 clean sheets in a row. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes, but I actually think with the level of opponents Stoke have been taking down recently, that they're going to go and do it again. So Stoke to win it 2-1. Two sides who had been struggling as of late, but had a good weekend. Swansea against Sunderland. Swansea had won 4 in a row before 2 losses, and then at the weekend picked up some vital points. Sunderland, they lost 3 in a row before beating Norwich at the weekend, so both had a good weekend. Will they be able to have another one? Who's going to get the better of this game? Well, I've actually got this one down the middle, but it's going to be entertaining because Sunderland games recently seem to be containing a few goals. So I'll go for a 2-2. West Brom against Hull should be a tight affair, as West Brom, they've only lost 1 of their last 8 fixtures. That was against Blues, and they've won 2 in a row, keeping 3 clean sheets in a row. So they're very, very tight at the back, and they're getting important wins, albeit against QPR and Coventry, 2 sides who have been struggling recently. But 2-0 victories, very good from West Brom. Hull, 2 wins in a row as well, with 2 clean sheets, beating Blues and Preston. This should be a tight game. I don't really know which way to go, so I'm going to have to sit on the fence and go for a 1-1. And finally, it's Norwich against Blackburn. And despite Norwich's great start to this season and really looking like they're going to get the playoffs, they're now down in 17th. And that kind of lies with no wins in 5, despite scoring in all 5 of those games. And they've actually lost 4 of them, so they just can't keep it tidy at the back. They keep conceding goals, and it's leading to some heavy defeats. Blackburn, they had won 3 in a row going into the weekend, but did lose 1-0 against Swansea. Blackburn are obviously in the better form, but for some reason I've got a feeling that Norwich are going to get back to winning ways and get all 3 points here. So I'm going to go for Norwich to win it 1-0. But what are your predictions for this weekend's games? Make sure to get your predictions down in the comments. You've seen mine, but what are yours? Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you haven't already subscribed but do regularly watch my content, just hit the button and hit the bell so that you don't miss out on any more stuff. Now, hopefully, with Rooney seeing his first goal as Blues manager at the weekend against Southampton, he'll be able to see his first points this weekend. Tough ask against Ipswich, but up the Blues.